if you think it's low, has more to do with how the finished product has looked now for the roster. Because my contention has been, despite living out in LA now and everybody thinking, oh, this has all been according to plan, this was the plan. Could you imagine pitching LeBron and saying, all right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to get you, and then we're going to get Rondo, and then we're going to get Pope re-signed for a ton of cash. We're going to try to grab Lance Stevenson, maybe Beasley, and JaVale McGee. So, we don't want to trade for Kawhi, and we're not going to give Boogie enough money. Are you down with that? And were people, was LeBron absolutely, vision, I love it.
I'll give you, no.
Okay, right?
No.
Thank you,
I'm
first
rolling
of all.
with you on
Right.
that, no. But the second way you sell it to LeBron James, it's all about the summer of 2019. Okay. When you don't get Paul George and Kawhi Leonard isn't in control of his own destiny, you're LeBron, you got to be the lead domino. And that's what ended up happening. They had some terrific young talent, as you know, in Kuzma, Ingram, and Ball. But I think their all-star level player comes in 2019. I don't think the 48.5 wins is a stretch. I think that's about approximately what they would be. Think about the third seed in the West last year was the Portland Trail Blazers.
Right.
From
49, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And from 3 to 6, they were only divided by 2 games. So the Lakers will be in that conversation.
Well, if you look, and then
you think it's low?
No, I don't think it's low.
All right.
I don't think that's low. If anything, I think it might be a little high. I'm on your side. I agree with Jalen. The Lakers' future is in front of them. And by in front of them, I don't mean this October. It's next summer. And yes, the vision has got to be we're going to add Kawhi then, or we're going to add one of these other great players and build around that. And we didn't want to give up these young pieces in order to do it, which they would have to have done. They would have to have mortgaged their entire future to get Kawhi, one additional year of him rather than not having him. I also just wanted to ask you guys both, and this was what I teased, the Cavaliers win total in Vegas dropped to 30.5 after they won 50 games, so that's 20 games. The Lakers won 35 last year, and they're adding basically 13. So which do you think it is? Is a superstar like LeBron, is he worth roughly, Vegas is basically saying in the Eastern Conference, he's worth 20 wins in a season. Does that sound like the right number to you?
Well, I'm sure there's some real analytics guys that would tell you 20 games is too much even for a guy like LeBron. But I think in the East, when you looked at last year, the East was this thing where we thought it was going to be deeper. And then once it played out, you go, you know what? I'm not that impressed with any of these teams at the top. I mean, Cleveland still could have lost in the first round. Boston's probably still kicking themselves. Philly's probably wondering what the hell happened against Boston. So it felt like the top was suppressed, so it wasn't necessarily any of these great teams. But yeah, I think between 15 and 20 games for somebody like LeBron makes sense. It should.
It does. And for those, I know this sounds basic, 82 regular season games, you play 50 games versus your conference. So he played those 50 games in the East. That projection seems about accurate, playing those 50 games in the West for the Cleveland Cavaliers, as you acknowledge. Other than Boston and Philly, who have catapulted themselves to the top of the division, we really don't know what to expect from the rest of the teams in the Eastern Conference. Toronto added Kawhi Leonard. They're going to have a terrific season. So I'm not necessarily shocked that a player like LeBron is relative to a 20-game spin either way. But the Cleveland Cavaliers won't be in the finals this year, I bet you that.
They certainly won't. Will they even be in the playoffs is an interesting question in a weaker conference. Quick question, just to sort of wrap this thing up. Just taking it man for man, did LeBron have a better roster with him in the playoffs this past year in Cleveland or starting this next year in Los Angeles? Just which is a better roster?
That's actually, I hadn't really thought of it that way. I think the roster in LA, despite it really confuses me because it's like 13 guys that want minutes, it's better. There's more hope on this roster than I thought the worst roster he's dragged to a finals in his career. Other than the 07.
Kevin Love always gets overlooked in any dynamic, but the Lakers roster is better than the Cleveland Cavaliers one.
Celtics 57.5 wins. In theory, they should have Hayward and Irving healthy all year long. Would you go over that number? People talking about them being so good in a very weak conference.
That's the thing is, when you start talking about 60 wins, that's a ton of wins. It really is. It's 59 last year for the Raptors as the 1 seed. But yes, best case scenario, who the Celtics would be, and not just with a healthy Gordon and Kyrie coming back, but this guy, this dude, Tatum in his second year, who might end up being the best player on this whole roster, and the fact that you look at the rest of the East and you go, after 4 or 5, it's still pretty thin. You probably have to go over unless you're playing an injury here with Kyrie again.
I like the 57.5, but I agree with Ryan. Once you start talking about 60-plus wins, it made me look back and wonder how many games the Golden State Warriors won last year. 58. I thought they won more games than that, especially since the year before they won 67.
Remember, though, they had kind of mailed it in, though. They had
Correct.
some injuries
Yes.
towards it. They stopped playing defense. I think they finished like 7-11.
Yeah, before a team that had 73 wins
Yeah,
and 67 wins and 58 wins. Boogie Cousins is going to miss a portion of the season. So the pack may catch up to them, Boston Celtics included in that. But I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to happen with the Oklahoma City Thunder. And Russell Westbrook, people forget the fact that he's averaged triple-doubles the last 2 years.
No one cared the second time.
How
right?
about that? How about that? And it was a big hat tip for him, for Paul George to stay. Because a lot of people were talking about, can they be the best version of themselves playing with Russell Westbrook? To have another all-NBA caliber player choose to sign there and not even take a meeting with the Lakers meant a lot in that dynamic.
As we look at the Celtics, I'll tell you the thing that I find the most interesting as you stack it all up. And I know everyone is crazy with Boston, and understandably so. They looked great in the playoffs last year, and they have so much dynamic young talent. Maybe that's what you're counting on them getting better. But I mean, just within their own conference, you just referenced it. The Raptors were the 1 seed last year. They won 59 regular season games, and they theoretically swapped out DeMar DeRozan for Kawhi Leonard. That should be a significant upgrade. If Kawhi Leonard is what he was before he went out, you could make an argument he's the second best player in the world. So the idea that Boston is head and shoulders the best team in the Eastern Conference, which I feel like is the narrative now, and I feel like the world has sort of given up on Toronto because they couldn't climb Mount LeBron. Yeah. LeBron is gone. I feel like
you're right.
Raptors,
I think we're all a little guilty of just giving up on who Toronto is because they were so hard to back. And now that it's different, like I don't expect Kawhi to be some damaged version of himself. He's still actually pretty young, and we're talking about a quad injury, like not coming off an Achilles. Like this should be something where once he's ready, and who knows how ready he's been here for a while, but that he should look great. And so, but look, they're only 3 games behind in these projections,
Yeah.
44.5. So it's not like they think they're way behind him. I think Philadelphia at the same number is a sign that if the Sixers are healthy with those guys, like they should be a better team.